Chapter 9. English Heroes. Who are England's heroes? The important people who will never be forgotten. One of the greatest must be William Shakespeare, who wrote many beautiful poems and about 37 plays, including A Midsummer Night's Dream, Romeo and Juliet, Hamlet, and Macbeth. The people in his plays always seem very real, and he wrote about their feelings and problems in words that continue to sound new and interesting today. Another hero of England from the world of literature is Charles Dickens. Dickens wrote some of the best novels of Victorian times, including Oliver Twist, David Copperfield, Bleak House, and Little Dorrit. Dickens used his books to show how terrible life was for poor people in England at the time of the Industrial Revolution. But England has scientific heroes as well as heroes from the world of literature. One of the greatest of these was Sir Isaac Newton. Born in Lincolnshire in 1643, Newton studied at the University of Cambridge. He was able to understand and explain many things about the world around us for the first time, and his book, Mathematical Principles of Natural Philosophy, was very important in the history of science. Newton helped people to understand about light and colour, and he was also the first person to explain gravity, the force that pulls things towards the ground. Charles Darwin also did scientific work in England. He was born into a rich family, and in 1831 he left England to travel around the world. Darwin studied the animals and plants that he saw on his trip, and was interested in the differences between them. When he came home, he began to work on a new idea, the theory of evolution. This was the idea that only the strongest animals and plants lived and reproduced, had babies or grew seeds. And so, Darwin believed each kind of animal and plant was slowly changing. In 1859, Darwin published his ideas in the book On the Origin of Species. One very real hero of England was Horatio Nelson, who was leader of the Royal Navy from 1794 to 1805. Nelson, who lost one eye and one arm in battle, was a great leader, and with him, Britain won many battles against France during the Napoleonic Wars. At the Battle of Trafalgar, Nelson helped to stop the French from invading Britain, but he was then killed. A very large statue of him stands 46 metres high in Trafalgar Square and is one of London's best-loved sights. Two other important English seamen were Sir Francis Drake and Captain Cook. Sir Francis Drake helped to lead England against the Spanish Armada in 1588, and Captain Cook was the first European to reach the east coast of Australia in 1770. Winston Churchill, Prime Minister from 1940 until 1945, was another English hero for many people during World War II. Churchill was a strong leader, and many people believe that the speeches and radio broadcasts he made during the war helped the UK to win the war. He was Prime Minister again from 1951 to 1955, and when he died in 1965, the Queen gave him a state funeral, a special funeral that is normally only for kings and queens. Another famous politician was Margaret Thatcher. Thatcher was Prime Minister from 1979 to 1990, longer than any other person in the 20th century, and she was also the first woman Prime Minister of the UK. One of England's most famous heroes is not actually real. Stories about Robin Hood have been popular since the Middle Ages, and in modern times many films, plays and TV programs have been made about him. In these old stories, Robin Hood is a great fighter and an outlaw, someone who does not follow the law. Living in Sherwood Forest at a time when the King of England is a dishonest man, he takes money from the rich to give it to the poor. Florence Nightingale was famous for helping people too, but she was a real person. Florence Nightingale is thought of by many as the first real nurse. In 1854, during the Crimean War, she went to work in a hospital for soldiers. She thought that it was dirty and badly organized, so she quickly started to make important changes. Because of her, the hospital became cleaner, the soldiers were given good food and taken care of better, and soon fewer people were dying. When she came back to England, Florence Nightingale started the first proper nursing school at St. Thomas's Hospital. England also has heroes of the stage and screen. One of the first of these was Charlie Chaplin, a comedy actor and director who was famous for his many silent films in the years before films with sound were made. Chaplin's best-known character was the Tramp, a funny little man with a hat, a moustache, and a stick. Before the end of the First World War, Chaplin was the most famous film actor in the world. But probably the greatest stage heroes of England are the Beatles. John Lennon, Paul McCartney, George Harrison and Ringo Starr had their first hit, Love Me Do, in 1962, and by 1964 they had become famous around the world. There was international Beatlemania. People screamed and shouted when the band came on stage, and the world watched everything they did. The Beatles were the first English band to become successful in the USA. They made more than 200 songs and are the best-selling band in history. Two more musical heroes of England, famous in a quieter way, are the composers George Friedrich Handel and Sir Edward Elgar. Handel was German, but came to live in London in 1712 and became British in 1727. He is one of the greatest composers in history and is best known for wonderful works like Water Music and The Messiah, written in 1742. Elgar's most famous works are the Enigma Variations, written in 1899, The Dream of Gerontius, and the Pomp and Circumstance Marches. What about modern-day English heroes? For many football lovers, David Beckham is a hero. He was captain of the England football team from 2000 until 2006, and, along with his wife Victoria, who was once in the band the Spice Girls, Beckham is a very famous celebrity. Princess Diana is also, for many people, an English hero. Diana was the first wife of Charles, the Prince of Wales, and when they married in 1981, people believed that she would one day be the Queen. But they were not happy together, and in 1996, Charles and Diana ended their marriage. A year later, Diana was killed in a car accident in Paris. Many people loved her for her work with international charities, and because she showed great kindness to children, ill people, and those with difficult lives. When she died, thousands of people brought flowers to her London home, and 2.5 billion people watched her funeral on TV.